All right, all right, all right, all right. Sorry about the rough start. I was busy putting in work, and now I'm putting in work over here. I appreciate you guys joining me once again for another beautiful week with TimberTalk navigating the political forest. We're going to navigate really beautiful today, and I got some great stories in store. But before do that, we have to give the Lord praise. So let's open with prayer, and we'll get into it. Dear Heavenly Father, God, we thank you for a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful week and a beautiful day, Lord. We thank you for blessing us with an opportunity once again to navigate this political force, Lord, to navigate this life with you, Father. So, God, I pray right now that everyone that is under the sound of my voice gets the message that you would have them to get today, and that we will all be better and smarter for it. In Jesus' mighty name I pray. Amen. Welcome back to Timber Talk Navigating the Political Forest. Today, we're talking about really three things. Those three things are truth, trust, and power. And if you saw the little splash screen, you know what we're talking about, right? So, truth gives people the ability to make informed decisions. And there's a lot of times that we get to a point and a place where we can't make informed decisions because we're being told what to do instead of told to go research for ourselves, right? So, we have this thing called trust, right? Trust is what holds institutions and infrastructure together. So if you build a house on a foundation that's not trustworthy, then it might fall, right? And it'll come down crumbling altogether, the house included. And power determines what happens when either one of those things come together. So some people will take truth and twist it to gain power, and others will take trust in someone's word or actions or ability and twist it to maintain power. Well, today we're going to examine a judge who was convicted. We're going to look into lawsuits and allegations and all sorts of things that will really truly open your eyes to what's going on in this nation and how things are being moved. Uh, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of how things are shaping up, especially with our two-tiered justice system, which will be our first story that we get into. But let's begin where all wisdom begins, and that's with the word of the Lord. Proverbs chapter 14, verse 34 says, righteousness exalts a nation, but sin reproach any people, right? So it is easy to measure a nation by its military, by its strength, and by its economy, or its political prowess and how they seem in people's eyes. It's easy. But God doesn't measure by a nation's ability. He looks at them differently. He measures them by not by how much money they have or how many people they have or their military exercises. He measures them by what they do with his word, right? So if we're not using God's words properly, then we are making a mistake. So our first story here again today is going to be the two-tier justice system, and I have to do this the old-fashioned way because I didn't do it right today. So we're going to close all those off, and boom, there we go. Two-tiered justice system. Now, former Wisconsin judge Hannah Dugan was sentenced. She got her sentencing. You know, Hannah Dugan, if you guys have been following me for a while, is a judge that has served her community very well. She has done great things for her community as a judge and really put justice forward, except for when it comes down to ICE coming to deport people. So Hannah Dugan gets a tip that ICE is coming to, basically come pick up one of the individuals that she is currently seeing in the courthouse. And she tells this person to go out through a side door, escape so that ICE can't take him. Well, Miss Dugan got hit with obstructing uh, 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 um, a federal investigation, and she also got hit with something else. But here's the problem. Here's the problem. Because when you really look at this, if any of us, and a lot of you are going to be mad, if any of us did what she did and got what she got, it would be confusing, right? We would expect the harshest form of punishments that could be doled out because we ain't supposed to be messing with federal stuff and interfering and intervening in federal things. Well, she did do that. So on July 8th, a U.S. district judge by the name of Lynn Edelman sentenced Miss Dugan to pay $5,000, a $5,000 fine with no prison time and no probation, despite the fact she had a felony conviction. They actually convicted her of the felony. Well, I have seen many people go to court and many people get the book thrown at them. But the problem here is Miss Hannah, who decided to obstruct justice, to step in the way of the government doing what the government's supposed to do, to let a criminal go, didn't get anything done to her at all. She got the short end of the stick, but it was really just to slide money from one hand to the next and be shooed off into the distance, right? So the case ends up stemming from, again, like I was telling you before, the 2025 incident where when an immigration and customs enforcement agent arrived at the Milwaukee courthouse that she was presiding over to arrest Mr. Eduardo, I think it's Eduardo Flores Ruiz, who was a Mexican national who was in the country illegally and was facing an assault and battery charge, and that she was the judge that was about to beat the gavel. I got a question for the comments. I got a question because I'm moving a little quick. What do you think by her actions that she took by shooing this person out of a side door so he could escape ICE? What do you think she would have done in charging this man with the things that he did? How do you think that would have went down? Do you think she honestly would have given this person? And I know we can't really talk about it from the perspective of what happened because it didn't happen. But what do you believe, as those listening, would have happened if ICE didn't show up and she was actually allowed to go through this court case with this man? How do you think she would have sentenced this man? Do you think he would have got heavy jail time, or do you believe he would have got a slap on the wrist? So according to prosecutors, instead of allowing federal agents to carry out their duties and arrest this man, Dugan, again, allowed Mr. Flores Ruiz to escape through a private jury door. So it's crazy because a private jury door means that door was specifically for the jury to enter and exit from. She allowed this man to go through a door that is only accessible. So if anybody's ever seen a courtroom, the jury is encased in like a little fenced in area or a little banistered in area. So that man would have had to have hopped over that to go through that door, because that door is not easily assessed unless through the back entrance into that door or from over it out of that door. So if you look up pictures of the actual courthouse in Milwaukee, you'll see this, right? She allowed this man to escape like that. So she knew what she was doing. So hindsight being 2020, we know for a fact that she would have let this man off with a slap on the wrist because she was trying to let him escape. So although Mr. Ruiz, I'm going to call him Ruiz because Flores Ruiz is a mouthful, it temporarily escaped, he did eventually get caught. And he tried to give chase, like a foot race, and they eventually pursued him, tackled him, arrested him, right? And then later on, he was deported, as he should have been. The federal prosecutors argued in this particular case that this wasn't simply a misunderstanding inside a busy courtroom, and that she wasn't just trying to keep order in the courtroom when ICE was on their way. She actually did what she had intended to do in letting this man go. They argue that the sitting judge knowingly used her power and authority to usurp the federal government's lawful federal immigration operation. So after hearing the evidence, a federal jury then turns around and they're like, "Hey, we think that this lady's had enough, right?" Dugan was convicted of the felony of obstruction, but she wasn't really handed out the total punishment. It carries up to a 15 to 21 month sentencing, and she got away with a $5,000 charge, fine basically, and was let go. And Miss Lynn Edelman, the presiding judge over this case, said she has faced enough public scrutiny. We should just let her go. She knows what she did was wrong and that it was just a lapse of judgment on her part. She knows better. She didn't mean to do it. So my question to you is, if you are an upstanding member of society and you make a mistake, like you've spent all of your life doing the things that you do, and you just happen to make a mistake, do you think, let's say you run somebody over with a car, vehicular manslaughter, and it's your first time, you're an upstanding member of society, do you think the court's going to just, oh, it's okay, you didn't mean to, but here's the thing, you were drinking. You're drinking. Do you think they're going to let you go? No, because you did something that was unlawful. You chose to drink and drive, and then you hurt someone in the process. They're not going to let you go. They're going to throw the book at you. They're not going to just give you a fine and tell you to go away because you've just been scrutinized by the public. It's kind of like that little girl that was all over TikTok who was found guilty of murdering her boyfriend and her best friend, boyfriend's best friend, and she thought she was going to get away because she got injured in the car accident as well. But after reviewing the evidence, they threw the book at her. Granted, she only got 15 years, but they threw the book at her. It would have been like them just telling her, it's okay. We knew that you meant to kill these boys and that you were trying to do what you were trying to do, but it's okay. You're guilty, but it's all right. We're going to let you go. Why is it that we have this two-tiered justice system where just because you know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, you get to skate on doing wrong? If you or I do this, we are being cooked. Yet other people get to do this dirt and get away with it scot-free. All because they know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, or they were somebody at the time of them committing the crime. That is two-tier justice system. And this is what a lot of people in America actually complain about when it comes to the justice system. This is what they complain about. You have judges like Judge Lynn Edelman, who's supposed to follow the law and impose the law, only giving out a monetary fine and letting this lady who broke a federal law go. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. I know it makes no sense. It's baffling to me that we continuously, as we the people, sit around and watch this happen and we don't do anything. We do nothing. We just sit back and complain and tweet and message on Facebook and make a status update, but we don't do anything, and we have the power to do something to shut this type of clown show down. Yet instead of shutting the clown show down, we just sit back and allow them to continue to abuse us time after time, day after day. And then what? Then what? Oh, it's unfair what they did to us. We can't take it anymore, but you keep letting them do it. It's your fault. It's your fault. This overall case has become much more than just one former judge being slapped on the wrist. It's become a pinpoint that they're telling you to your face, hey, you're nobody to us, and she's somebody to us, and those like her are somebody to us, and we're never going to do anything. Kind of like with them finding out the things with the Epstein case and all those files and documents. We know who did what, but nobody's been arrested. Now, the UK is arresting people. They've arrested several people. But why isn't the United States, where we always talk about making wrongs right and correcting the bad behavior, yet people who are on the list are still running free, doing what they want to do? That is a two-tiered justice system. And you're not going to get any, and I mean any justice, unless you yourself start voting in the right people or running yourself and getting in and imposing the law as it was meant to be doled out. It doesn't work any other way. You're letting these people continuously skate by, and that lady will go live happily ever after, probably write 2 or 3 books and get a book deal and make millions of dollars. For what? Breaking a federal law. It really is something to think about. It really, really is something to think about. Our next story is asylum lawfare. Now, this story kind of follows up on this one right here because we got some freaky deaky things going on. The Trump administration has faced a lot of lawsuits in their time, but they're now facing a new federal lawsuit accusing them of them and the U.S. immigration officials of improperly sharing confidential asylum information with individuals connected to the Iranian government. And I promise you this story is connected to the other ones. We're going somewhere. Remember, we have truth, trust, and power. You got to be careful who you think is telling the truth. Got to be careful who you're trusting, and watch those that are assuming power, because there's a lot of people assuming power for themselves, right? Well, this lawsuit was filed by the Iranian American Legal Defense Fund, and I have a lot of opinions on that. I really do, because before we get into it too deep, if you're in America, you're an American. Point blank, period. I don't hear other nations calling someone Mexican French, German, British, Britain, whatever, meaning that they come from one nation to the other nation. If you take up citizenship in any other nation, you are a citizen of that nation. You are renouncing and dropping the First Nation. So if a Canadian comes to America and becomes a citizen, they are no longer a Canadian American or Canadian, they are American. Point blank, period. Why do we like to attach everything to America while people still hold on to what they used to have? Drop what you used to have it because you came to the best nation. But this lawsuit was filed by the Iranian American Legal Defense Fund, and they alleged that sensitive information belonging to Iranian asylum seekers was disclosed to people who want them dead, who want to cause harm to them. Well, according to the complaint, the information allegedly included details about the asylees and their applications, describing claims of political persecution, is what these people were saying that they were coming here for, and thusly checking the box to get the asylum status. But they were saying that they told this information to the enemy, right? Iran, right? They said claims of political persecution, religious conversion and persecution from Christianity to Islam, and then you have the Christians that were being persecuted as well, and other reasons applicants feared returning to Iran for. They were afraid that because America was telling this information to the enemy, that they would be pushed back into these places. First, let's address the elephant in the room. How did they find out, allegedly, how did they find out that America was sharing this information with the enemy? How? It makes no sense. If they were sharing this information with the enemy is not then going to go tell the person that's seeking asylum that America told us that you were trying to do this and now we're going to stop. No, that's not how that works. But that's a little sidetrack. It's a little sidetrack. The plaintiffs argue that those disclosures could place asylum seekers and their family members still living in Iran at greater risk if the information reached the Iranian authorities. The Department of Homeland Security, however, strongly denied all of these allegations. The federal officials end up saying that the United States does not share, they stress not, does not share asylum information with the Iranian government, and and maintain that ICE follows U.S. law while carrying out deportations and required consulars notifications. So let's say that these people who are bringing forth this lawsuit are correct and this information got shared. That means somebody in the United States needs to lose their job and be jailed because they broke the law. Not get a slap on the wrist like Miss Hannah Dugan did. They actually need to be put away because they overstepped their authority. They stepped outside of what they were supposed to do. But let's live inside of reality. America's in a war right now with Iran. Why would America be talking about asylum seekers to Iran? Why? That makes no sense. It's kind of contraindicative, right? So we have to look at this from the perspective of reality, not feelings and emotion. And this is where I personally believe that the Iranian American Defense Fund is actually coming from. They're trying to play on emotions. They're trying to make this about, and the Trump administration is doing something illegal. They're breaking the law. Really, it's a rule, but they're breaking the law. But that's not the case. To understand why this lawsuit matters, however, you have to first understand how the asylum system works. People applying for asylum often provide some of the most personal information imaginable. You know, they share some deep, intimate details about themselves. They must also describe political activity, religious beliefs, membership in opposition in movements, or details about threats, imprisonment, torture, or violence they say they experienced or they know of people experiencing, right? And have proof of that from their home country. So you have to understand that they have to dole out a lot of information because that is the federal law, and that's the way they can get into the system. That's how they get here and get away from what's causing them harm. And those are part of their protections as well. But those protections are designed to prevent foreign governments from learning that one of their citizens is now a defector, basically. We don't call a spade a spade. They might be seeking asylum, but they're defecting. They're ratting out their government, right? So according to the lawsuit, we're speaking solely about the lawsuit. According to the lawsuit, the alleged disclosure began in 2025 during the meetings involving the U.S. immigration officials and representatives handling Iran's diplomatic affairs. For those that don't know, Pakistan handles all of Iran's diplomatic affairs. We don't really do much sitting down with Iran because they're crazy, right? But what this sounds like to me is one of the worst game of telephone I've ever heard. Maybe, and I'm just putting this out there, this is my thought pattern, maybe there was a discussion that was made and somebody that was in this embassy in Pakistan heard something and thought something different than what was actually being said. Possibly, maybe. I don't know. I wasn't there. But maybe they did that. And that's how the Iranian American Defense Fund legal team got a hold of this. And if that's the case, people are very loose-lipped in this situation. That's one possibility. And overall, this lawsuit is another distraction. And I also believe that it's another way for them to attempt to neuter or take away power from the executive branch. For those that don't know, Article 2 out of the Constitution of the United States of America actually gives the layout of what the federal government under the branch of the president can do, the executive, what they can do and what they can't do, right? And over the years, there have been laws created by Congress that expanded the power or limited the power of the executive. That is the duty of the Congress to do so. The very first Congress laid out what the executive could and couldn't do, right? And over time, they amended it and added to it. This seems like another attempt, however, to pull away from the executive, because we have had multiple Supreme Court cases that rendered results saying that the executive branch has the power and authority over immigration. But it seems like people on the left, specifically, don't like the fact that President Trump has authority over immigration. Now, when any other president was in office, they didn't say much. They spoke some, but they didn't say much. But now that Trump is exercising his authority given to him by the Constitution, they are saying he's overstepping. He's doing too much. The Trump administration strongly disputes all of the claims that have been made against them. They are standing on the fact that DHS is acting in good faith and not doing what is said of them. Confidentiality is something that's very important and has been one of the cornerstones of American asylum seekers, right? And we understand why. Some of these people come over here giving really strong information that helps the United States go back and fight and overturn injustices. However, I don't believe this to be the case. And even with some of these asylees being Christian, I don't believe this is the case. I think this is another attempt by the Democrats to undermine Trump's authority as the sitting president. It stinks to me. So they use lawfare to continue to neuter the Trump administration, to stop him or slow him down. But what's not slowing him down is his steps forward whenever he goes abroad, whenever he goes to these summits, whenever he goes to NATO. He's not being slowed down. He's being pushed by his, or compelled by his own belief system to do what's best for America. Our next story is about Ukraine. It is going to be, not that one, this one right here, the Ukrainian Missile Project, UMP for short. So President Trump announced a major shift in America's military support for Ukraine during the NATO summit in Turkey. Following a meeting with Ukraine, President Volodymyr Zelensky and Trump said that the United States, Following the meeting with Ukraine at the summit in Turkey, it was a NATO summit, Trump spoke to President Volodymyr Zelensky and said that, hey, the United States will grant Ukraine a license, pay attention to the language, a license to manufacture their own Patriot air missile defense system. Now, a lot of people out the gate are going to be like, oh my gosh, why is Trump doing this? This is horrible. Trump shouldn't be giving anybody other stuff. This is our test. First and foremost, most of the stuff that we ship around the world up until a certain point after USAID fell, stuff was being stolen and shipped around the world and re-engineered and altered to suit that nation's prowess when they stole it. So these people know more about our technology. This is why we have to continually advance our technology. They already know about our technology. But Trump is out here saying, hey, y'all can get a license to make these and manufacture these, and we will help you set up a facility to do this for yourself. We need you to do this instead of relying almost entirely on our shipments from the United States. And Ukraine would eventually be able to manufacture these things for themselves, and we can stop wasting our money, stop wasting our time, stop wasting our efforts, right? Because it's a risk every time we make shipments, because Americans have to go along with these shipments to get them there, right? So the announcement comes as Ukraine continues defending itself against Russia's missiles and drone strikes and attacks that have repeatedly decimated Ukraine. And some of these videos and stuff that I've seen, I'm like, man, that's pretty rough. That's pretty rough, because they finally allow people to show things for themselves over there instead of blanketing the media and keeping things out. Now we can actually see these things from ourselves and a lot of independent people reporting on these things, right? So Trump is basically saying, hey, we are tired of footing the bill for any and everybody, and we already have a declining stockpile of things. And every time we give you a shipment of our stuff, that's taken away from us. This is an America first approach. Most people will be like, no, Ukraine's a evil nation, a horrible nation. They shouldn't have access. Well, do you want your taxpayer money to continue to support this evil nation? Because that's what's happening. At the very least, now Trump is trying to alleviate the burden of the American people and the American taxpayers by telling them, hey, make this for yourself. He's telling basically all of Europe to defend yourself. Beef up your defense system. Europe, defend Europe. We are tired of constantly having to come to your aid every time someone starts something or thinks something or feels something. We're constantly having to shovel things out for everyone else but ourselves, and it constantly pulls away from us. It constantly pulls away from us. Yeah, the Patriot missile system is one of the most advanced defense systems in the world. It's designed to detect and track and destroy after intercepting enemies' missiles. Let them have it. Because I guarantee you, if we give them that, we have something more detrimental that if they decide to get too big for the britches, we can put them back in their place. It is becoming tiresome with the simple fact that we are constantly helping everybody else. If you have been following me for any amount of time, I've been telling you guys that America's stockpiles are dwindling. And they're not dwindling because we aren't refilling them. They're not dwindling because we don't have enough. They're dwindling because we're constantly giving to everybody else before ourselves. We stopped being America first the moment this war with Israel started. Actually, we weren't America first for a very long time. Then Trump tried to make us America first. And then it went right back to not being America first. That's actually the timeline, right? But if we give them this stuff and if we push, because that's the overall message of what Trump was trying to display here at this summit. Hey, you guys need to pick up some of the slack. We are tired of footing the bill, footing the men, footing the munitions for your problems. Take care of yourself. It's common sense. It's like, let's say one of you have a brother or sister who has an issue and they come to you for help and you help them. And then later on, that brother or sister has a problem again and they come to you for help. And then again, that brother and sister has another problem, they come to you for help. And now you're like, man, look, come work for my company because I'm tired of shoving out all this money and not getting anything in return. You can work for my company and make your own money. America is tired of doing all of the heavy lifting, all of the heavy production, all of the heavy giving, and getting nothing in return. These countries are constantly benefiting from the United States of America, and we get nothing in return. There's only so many bases we can build in countries around the world before we have a country and a base in every country. There's only so many. Eventually, we need a return on investment. And this is the best way to get return on investment. It's to just cut ties altogether. It's just smart business. And that's one thing that Trump excels at. He is a great businessman. And licensing out a product means that they got to pay us. Instead of continually supplying equipment, America provides Ukraine something and allows them to manufacture it themselves, and we get to just walk away. Now, on the flip side, we don't want Ukraine getting too big for their britches and thinking that we can just come to them and help them anytime that something goes wrong because we created this deal or created this pathway between each other. But at the same time, it's better than not doing anything at all and continuing business as usual, where America continues to get sucked dry. America has suffered enough by giving, and never getting returns. Oh, well, you don't understand geopolitics or economics. Yes, I do. I also understand that if you give more than you make, then you'll run out eventually. And that's why our stockpiles are low. We're constantly giving and not making enough. We're constantly helping and not making enough. Every time we help, we use our stuff. Every time we give our stuff. And if we're not making it faster than we're giving it, A plus B equals C. It only makes sense. So if we strengthen them, that's less reliance on us. And United States gets to continue business as usual and selling them stuff instead of giving them stuff. Oh, well, they pay for that stuff. What is them paying for if we're not putting back in as fast as they are using it? Supply and demand. But this proposal will now depend on defense agreements between Washington, D.C. and Kiev. Ultimately, just to get you guys to understand that it's going to be between the two nations to make two capitals really, to make a decision, right? And how to cooperate from here on out. We have seen Trump time and time again try to make things work out and fix things, but it's not working. And ultimately, Trump is thinking, hey, if Ukraine can defend themselves without relying on us, maybe we can make moves in negotiating peace between those two and stopping all of the actions that's going on between them. And that would make the most sense. It would be the most beneficial if we are able to pull it off. Hopefully we'll. Hopefully we can put an end to it. Because frankly, I'm just tired of seeing America always be put second or third behind everything else. Another deal that's going off, possibly, maybe, is the U.S.-Turkey deal. Now, the U.S.-Turkey deal is ruffling some feathers. And this story right here is going to lead into the final story of the main course meal that we have for this segment tonight. We won't get there. I'm salivating because I want to talk about that right now. But I can't. I got to talk about this first. But President Trump has announced again that he wanted to do some things. And those things that he wanted to do is to restore trade relations between the United States and Turkey. Yeah, for those that don't understand or don't know, Turkey is a Muslim nation. Turkey is also a part of NATO. Yeah. Following the meetings with the Turkish president, which his name is really difficult to pronounce, but I think it's Recep Tayyip. And I won't even try his last name, but we'll call him Recep because that's easy to pronounce, right? But following his meetings with the Turkish president Recep, Trump said that his administration will work. Again, pay attention to the language. Pay attention to the language. President Trump will work towards lifting sanctions that have been imposed on Turkey, and maybe, possibly, if that all works out, everything works good, he will restore sales of the F-35 fighter jet, stealth fighter jet, with them, right? So Turkey has said that if we are NATO allies, why are we being restricted from doing business with other NATO allies, right? And the reason why Turkey lost the ability to have the F-35 stealth fighter jet in the first place is because they were purchasing the S-400 air defense system from Russia. And that violated some of the treaties and violated some of the dealings that were going on. So President Trump said, hey, it's been a long time since that's happened. What's done is done. Maybe now we can resume this agreement and this relationship that we had before. So Trump called Turkey an important NATO ally and said that the two countries are working to rebuild their defense partnership. Any agreement, however, is expected to face significant resistance. Very, very much resistance from the United States Congress because they were the ones that put it in place to restrict them in the first place with these they were bipartisan sanctions that were placed when Turkey did what they did. But also, the United States allies have something to say, mainly Israel. Yeah. Israel doesn't like it. They don't like it. So I don't think that this deal will go off at all. Why? Because we have too many congressmen and women in the pocket of Israel. And it's crazy to me that we allow another foreign nation to dictate who we do business with and who we don't do business with. Now, if you guys have been watching the news, Benjamin Netanyahu got on TV and said it would be a mistake for Trump to allow Turkey to have access to the F-35 fighter jets. Netanyahu, you're fighting Lebanon and Iran. Why are you worried about Turkey? Why are you in our business? Why are you in our business? The last time we tried to get in y'all's business, y'all bombed the hell out of our boat. You took the lives of 34 men. You injured 172 men the last time we tried to get in your business. So why do you think it's advantageous or possible for you to tell us who we can and can't do business with? If Turkey is in our NATO allyship, and though this is kind of sort of hypocritical of Trump, I will call a spade because Trump has said he wanted to get out of NATO, but we are still in it, and Trump doesn't have the authority really to pull us out of NATO. That's going to be a congressional approval type thing. But if we are a part of it, why are you worried about what we're doing? You're not fighting against Turkey. Just because they're Muslim doesn't mean you have a problem with them. If we try to do deals with every country and you have a problem with every country we do deals with, do we just not get to do deals? Do we have to make sure you co-sign everything that we do? It makes no sense. Turkey was originally one of the original partners in helping develop the F-35 fighter program for the United States. So why, if these people help us start it, and we used to give them these planes, if they were at the start and they had them, why can't we do it again? Turkish companies manufactured hundreds of parts, valuable parts for this aircraft. And Turkey planned to purchase more than 100 of these things for their own military. That changed in 2019. Turkey has made deals with other people. Why is it that a nation can't make deals with another nation? Oops, I apologize, sorry. Why is it that a nation can't make deals with another nation and it just be copacetic? This is not going to change our status as allies with you, Israel. So why are you overstepping bounds? Why are you telling us what we can and can't do? Why are you telling us it's a mistake? Now, on the flip side, Israel's out here saying, if we give them this is going to hurt Greece. What does Greece have to do with any of this? Greece and Turkey aren't currently in a conflict. Russia and Ukraine are. America, Israel, Iran, Lebanon, Kuwait. They're all in a conflict right now, but not Turkey and Greece. Are you foreshadowing that if they get this F-35 contract that they're going to attack Greece? It's just food for thought. It is food for thought. So what I find funny is that when Congress imposed the sanctions, they imposed them under Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanctions Act, commonly known as the CAATSA, which is crazy because Turkey's an ally, at least a NATO ally. We created NATO, by the way. I just want you guys to think, ask questions. There's nothing wrong with asking questions. President Trump says that he wants to move in a different direction rather than continuing to have strained relations. He says that the United States should strengthen cooperation with Turkey as a NATO ally, an important NATO ally. So we have this nation that's been an integral part in developing weaponry for the United States, but they can't deal with the United States outside of that. Now, the Turkish officials have more than been welcoming to the possibility. They argue that Turkey has one of NATO's largest militaries and partners inside of NATO. They should have access to these things that they help make. And I don't disagree. While they are a Muslim nation, not all Muslims are terrorists. Not all terrorists are Muslim. We have to get this ideology out of our head. A terrorist can be anyone. A terrorist is anyone that strikes terror through violent actions. The story isn't really about one fighter jet. It's about alliances. And it seems lately, only ally we have is Israel, because that's all we've been told. America has plenty of allies, and a lot of America's allies have been neglected because we're too focused on one ally. NATO was created on the principle that an attack against one member is considered an attack against all. For that alliance to function properly, members of NATO have to have trust in one another, at least to some degree. Turkey occupies one of the most strategically important locations in the world. It borders Europe. It borders the Middle East. It borders the Black Sea. And it sits near Russia, Iran, Iraq, and Syria. Because of that geography, Turkey has long been one of the United States, not just NATO, but one of the United States' most valuable strategic partners. But over the last several years, relations between them have waxed cold. Ankara became increasingly strained. Ankara is like their nation's capital, right? There's been disagreements over Syria. We've seen Trump try to mend relationships with Syria. It's almost like Trump was out here trying to lay a foundation. But now we're being told we can't do that. We're being told we can't do that. If the restrictions are lifted, it would signal that Washington believes rebuilding cooperation with Turkey is more valuable than continuing years of diplomatic separation and the woes and the pangs and the griping and moaning of another ally. We don't need everybody to support the idea. We just need enough people to support the idea to mend the relationships, because it would be better to have NATO as an ally than an enemy. And I guarantee you, if we continue down the path that we're on, America's going to have more enemies than she knows what to do with. And our stockpiles are already low enough because we constantly give. We got a full bore faucet running, giving out, but a trickle coming in. For now, there is no final agreement that has been reached or announced, but I have hope that we can reach one. I really do. I am so sick and tired of being told what we, as the greatest nation on earth, can and can't do with who we can't do it with. Our last story here is the one I've been waiting to get to. Isn't real lies. One of America's greatest allies lies. For those that don't understand, the Department of Defense has upped our alert system on Israel because they've been spying on us. Ever since we said that we didn't want to continue business as usual in the Middle East, they've been spying on us, trying to find out why we don't want to do that, because we're tired of Americans dying. Let's be real. We're tired of wasting our munitions. We're tired of wasting taxpayer money. Let's be real. But isn't real lies. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is facing a lot of pushback after making a bold claim that several Christian villages in southern Lebanon had asked him personally to be annexed by Israel. He's saying that they asked to be annexed to become a part of Israel. I'm going to say it again for those that are in the back. Benjamin Netanyahu is saying that parts of southern Lebanon are asking to become a part of Israel. I'm gonna let that sit in your lap for a little bit before I say anything. Benjamin Netanyahu is saying that Lebanon has asked to be annexed and become a part of Israel. According to Netanyahu, residents of those villages wanted Israeli protection from Hezbollah and would prefer to become a part of Israel rather than remain under the current security in Lebanon. Sounds good, right? Sounds great. But shortly after those comments were made by Benjamin Netanyahu, mayors and local leaders from those very same villages named in the report publicly rejected the claim. Now, why would mayors, who are Christian, by the way, and leaders, local leaders, who are Christian, by the way, come out and reject that claim? They ended up saying that there's been no such request ever. There's no such request ever has been made from them. The mayor of the predominantly Christian village of Ramesh stated that the community remains loyal to Lebanon and relies on Lebanese armed forces, not Israel, for its security. Other Christian majority villages issued the very similar statements following Ramesh, right? Saying that their identity, their land, and their future belong to Lebanon. Lebanese officials of the whole country then also condemned what Netanyahu said, saying that they do not reflect the views of the Christian communities living in southern Lebanon. Let me give you a little bit of a breakdown. Southern Lebanon has become one of the most dangerous regions in the Middle East over the past 2 years. Really and truly, it's the last few months, but I digress, right? Since fighting intensified following October 7th, which they knew about, guys should go do your homework. They knew about it. The border between, by the way, October 7th, situation happened in Gaza. Lebanon's up here, Gaza down there. So I don't understand how this is the case, but I digress. The border between Israel and Lebanon has seen repeated exchanges involving Hezbollah and Israeli military. Now, what's crazy is you have to ask yourself questions. Oh my God, questions. I love questions. Don't you love questions? I love questions. I love questions. When was Hezbollah created and why? 2 questions. 1982. And because Israel invaded Lebanon. So Hezbollah became a fighting force to repel them. Israel's reasoning for invading Lebanon was because they were chasing Palestinian evil that ran into Lebanon. So why wouldn't you just ask the Lebanese government to help you root up the Palestinian evil? No, instead you just invade it. And then you ask the people in southern Lebanon, the Christians, to be conscripted and help you fight them. Now you're saying that these very same people are begging Israel to become a part of Israel. Why are you trying to expand your nation? Why are you lying? Many of the villages caught in the middle are small Christian communities, which make up a large Christian capacity, right? And these people have lived on those lands for a very long time. And according to Mr. Netanyahu, some of those communities have privately expressed a desire for Israeli protection because of Hezbollah's presence in southern Lebanon. I have a question. We know Muslims hate Christians, right? We know that Hezbollah is a terrorist organization, allegedly, right? We know that Muslims have been slaughtering Christians in Africa, right? We have proof of this. We got video after video after video after video after video. And a bunch of organizations around the world reporting this and trying to help these people. So Muslims hate Christians. Muslims kill Christians. Hezbollah is Muslim. Yet, for whatever reason, Hezbollah isn't killing the Christians in southern Lebanon. Southern Lebanon is predominantly Christian. Why? I'm just asking questions. However, once again, the local officials do not share these characterizations. They insist that that they are Lebanese. They don't want to be annexed, and they don't want to be Israeli. They don't want to be a part of it. Instead, their message in response to Netanyahu is remarkably consistent. They simply want peace. They want the fighting to stop. They want to remain in the land of their families that have been occupied for generations without becoming a part of another country's territory. This story highlights how difficult it can be to separate military strategy from the lives of ordinary civilians, but it also highlights that some people try to make things look one way, but really have ulterior motives. Why would these people do this privately? And I get it. I can hear it now. Oh, well, Lumberjack, they do it privately because they don't want to be attacked. If they say it publicly, they'll be attacked. They're getting attacked now. Just not by Hezbollah. Hezbollah didn't carpet bomb these Christian villages. Hezbollah didn't carpet bomb these Christian villages. Israel did. And Israel has been lying to you. I have proof. They want to expand. I have proof. They just passed the proposal, the Shadema proposal, SHDEMA proposal. They passed it. That allows them to go into the last standing Christian community in West Bank and push them out. The last Christian community in West Bank pushed out. You got to get up on out of here. I just want you guys to ask questions. And ask questions that beg answers. Because when you start getting the answers, you start getting the truth. And when you get the truth, it will set you free. Instead of being played. They're being played. We're being played. We can't do deals with certain nations because Isn't Real said so. Christians can't be Christian because Isn't Real says so. Christians can't have land and property because Isn't Real said so. Let's go to our ding dong of the day. I haven't seen this video, so I'm going to watch it for the first time with you guys. It's been a whirlwind of trying to put the show together, but let's watch this together.
If trans women are not real women, then why is it that my vagina-having ass had to go get a prescription for a yeast infection? Common thing, happens to 3 out of every 4 women. So, guess that includes trans women. So, how's that for that basic biology, you know? Because the biology tells me, yeah, I am a real woman.
Men can get yeast infection too. I'm seeing this for the first time, by the way. I swear to you. I have no word. Men can get yeast infections too. Just because you cut it off and invert it, or like Missy Elliott said, put that thing down, flip it and reverse it. It's sure flip it's wet yet, but yours ain't wet because it's, never mind, I digress. This is a family show. But you get me? What? What? You're a man. There's only a few reasons you get yeast infection. And because you're a man, I'm leaning to the fact that you don't clean yourself very well. Most men don't. Because you're nasty. You're nasty. Why do I have to go get this prescription for yeast infection? Because you don't wash your filleted pee-pee. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? What are we talking about? You're a man, bro. A whole man. Well, my vagina having so biology. Because only women. You're use a man. It's a man, not ma'am. Man. You're a whole dude. You over here talking about some my guy. Listen, what did you let fly out your ignorant throat? You sat right here on God's green earth. You picked up your cellular device, opened the camera application, pressed the white and red record button, and thought it was a brilliant idea to say what you said. And then you turns around and you go to your social media. Now, I'm going through the process for you guys that don't understand how this works as content creators. You got to pull your phone out. In some cases, some of us actually think about what we're going to say before we say it. Got to pull your phone out. And you got to press the record button in front of the camera, you know, and say what you say. And then you had to have the stop button, potentially edit it to make it shorter so it doesn't show certain things or whatever. And then go to the application of said choice or an application that allows you to send it out to all your platforms that you're on. And you got to hit upload. And then the little number climbs up and says, ding, your video has now been uploaded to X platform. Whatever platform, not X like Twitter, but X, whatever platform you're on. And you thought that it was smart to tell the whole world that you cut off your wing dang doodle, and because you's a nasty heifer, that you don't wash your bussy. I bet you wipe back to front. Absolutely, positively horrific. And this leads me into my cultural critique. We live in a society where people believe things that aren't are. Where people believe that just because you do something to your body that you can't get a yeast infection. Where we live in a society that people believe whatever they're told based off of how they feel. Feelings are why we are where we are. Feelings allow you to be manipulated and controlled. Feelings are not real. Remember that old commercial? Sometimes they feel like a nut, sometimes they don't. Almond Joys have mounds, and the other ones don't. Yeah. It's based off of a feeling. And some people in our society, if the wind blows the right way, gonna feel one way one day, and when it's hot and dry the next, they're gonna feel another way. And we allow these people to have the loudest voices, the biggest faces, and sometimes we even let them get in Congress or on local government boards. Stop allowing mentally handicapped individuals to get in places of power to speak the things that they want to speak, because they're only giving you how they feel, not what is actually factual. Feelings are not always in reality. I am sitting before you right now, a 5'8", 225-pound man. If I let feelings like these people do infiltrate, tomorrow I could be sitting before you, a 115-pound, 5'1" female. Because feelings alter reality, right? Ladies, make sure you don't wipe from back to front so you don't get yeast infections like this man who only believes women can get yeast infections. I appreciate y'all, and I thank you for navigating the forest with me. Make sure you're not missing the forest for the trees. Have a good one.